Mac. How's it going?
Hi, Mom. It's going well. I've got a beautiful Hoshi taking a bath right next to me. She's pretty much the cutest thing besides Luffy. And yeah, just just a Saturday chilling with my
Hmm.
mom. What could be better?
In late January, and we've got some temperatures in the mid 60s. Just normal.
Very
Just
normal. All
perfectly normal.
spring trees are starting to bloom, so that's great.
I hope it
Definitely
doesn't
makes
get
it
below
feel
freezing
like
again.
I know
They'll all die.
they'll all die. Like,
Yeah.
well, that happens literally every year now. Is like we get this weird warm period. The flowers are like, oh boy, it's my time. Oh, now you're dead. So
Yep.
that's not fun.
No.
Um, Climate change scares me. So there's that. Yeah, you know, I love a good piece of escapism these days.
Have you found any?
Uh, well, you know that game I was really into, Baldur's Gate. I have played almost 400 hours of it, and so now I think I'm officially burnt out, and I feel lost. Like I don't know what to do now. I
Oh.
keep trying to find another game, and I'm not finding one. Nothing that hits the same. But okay, you're gonna laugh. So I had heard just the fall of the House of Usher, that name thrown around. My dumbass, I first off did not realize that was an Edgar Allan Poe story. Secondly, did not realize that was a Mike Flanagan show. Thirdly, thought it was a Ryan Murphy. I was like, if it's anything, it's probably like the People versus O.J. Simpson kind of thing, like a Ryan Murphy
Oh.
drama series about a real life thing. Must be some group of people I don't know about, and that's what it is. And then I'm scrolling on Netflix trying to find something to watch randomly, and I see Hunkarino 5000 Rahul Kohli in the preview for Fall of the House of Usher, and I'm immediately like meerkat perk, like, oh, what? Now I'm interested, and I was like, oh, it's a Mike Flanagan thing. So I watched like 5 episodes of that. Now, okay, here's the thing: I don't hate that show, but if you put that next to Midnight
Night
Mass,
mass. Yeah.
it looks like dog shit because
Yeah.
Midnight Mass is like a masterpiece. Truly like one of the best shows. I think, like, to me, it's the top of the Mike Flanagan list. But the thing is, I'm entertained by this, but it really does feel like if Ryan Murphy's American Horror Story plus Slasher plus Succession had a baby and the baby was ugly. That's what it is.
That's great. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I didn't love it. I mean, people were like falling all over themselves when it came out, and I did watch it. I watched it all. Um, but and I'm a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan, and I'm a huge Flanagan fan. Fan,
Flanafan.
Flanagan. Yeah. I didn't love it.
So many things in it upset me because it's kind of like what we were talking about with Feast, where I'm looking at some of these like obviously being rich, okay, crime, not that it's any of these kids fault that their dad has this empire, but what bugs me is so many of like the reasons why they die. I'm like, this really isn't that big of a deal. Like, I don't think the punishment fits the crime here. Like, um and some things are also confusing, like, okay, spoiler alert, Rahul Kohli and the cat. I was like, it's never explained why he killed the cat in the first place, like the first time he killed the cat. Like, was it a drug filled stupor? I want to know what happened there. That's far more interesting than the weird telltale cat, in his house. Like, I don't, there were so many moments like that where I was like, what's the real crime here? And that woman who's got like the cut queen thing going on, I was like, you know what? This seems consensual. So whose business is it? Like,
Hmm.
I don't know. She's not cheating on the husband. Like, he's in on it. If he doesn't want to be a part of it, he can just break up with her. She's got to die over this? Like, I don't know. I don't see the big deal. And it felt kind of really rude. I'm like, it would be more interesting if we had a positive depiction of like that kind of arrangement, but it's just presented as like, guys, isn't this fucking weird? Like, no, I think done consensually, who cares?
Well, I agree with that. I mean, it will be revealed, so I won't say anything. There is a reason, and you're also right. Like, none, these kids are not crims.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not very strong. It's
No, it's not.
and it's just a lot of shock factor.
And also, it's like, shoehorning the Poe stories into this story. It's like some things lend themselves very kind of naturally. Like I also think the Hill House one is a masterpiece.
Mm,
Um, I think that one is super strong. But I don't think Bly is as strong, and I don't think this one. I think this is the weakest one
for sure.
of this thing that he's doing right now. And I
Yeah.
know you're not a huge fan of Hush, but I was pretty, you know, I was pretty impressed by that when it came out. But yeah, I just was like disappointed.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Like it's it's good it's like a good bag of potato chips. Like I'm not going to say it's the worst thing I've ever seen. Like I'm watching it. I think I'm like medium like when I'm on the elliptical, it makes me forget I'm on the elliptical and that's what I'm looking for. But is it good? No.
No. Yeah.
Like again, you put this Nick like I'm shocked thinking that the guy who made Midnight Mass is the same guy who made this. And I think it's a shame because I love this cast of actors. I really love them. I think, like, I don't know, they can do no wrong in my eyes. Even the weakest one of them, I'm like, I don't care. I'm into it. And in Midnight Mass, they were all just like chef's kiss. And in this one, they're doing the best with what they got. But the
Yeah.
what they got is bad.
Yeah. I think all that's completely fair. Yeah, for sure. And I kind of feel like, you know, like it's TV and it's still better than most TV you're going to watch. So
But that
it's,
bar is like couldn't be further below the
well,
ground.
that's very true. I mean, there are worse things you could, that's a terrible thing to say. Like, there are worse things you can watch. Like,
Yep, that's
that's not a
true.
ringing endorsement. You could also just like not ever watch this and you'd be
Yeah, my life
fine.
would be net zero.
Yeah.
No, I will say I'm just like such a huge Rahul Kohli stan. I love that man, and he can do
Yeah.
no wrong in my eyes. And I forget the actor's name, but they don't interact actually. But the guy who plays Detective Babineau in iZombie,
Yeah.
him being in the show, I was like, yes, add this guy to the cast of characters, please, because I love that actor, and it was like a great. I don't know, to have those two be on the same show again. I'm like, okay, yeah, just keep these people, please.
But I think I'm kind of with you because it's one of those shows where like somebody gets knocked off every show.
Yeah, and
Like
I'm
that's not a
sad.
spoiler. And yeah, and after I think this was like the fourth one that he got knocked off, and I was like, well, I'm not as into this anymore.
And they so early compared to some of these other actors. Like on my list of like faves, he's at the top. And him and I don't remember the actress's name, but the actress who plays, I think her name's like Vaconia, who does like the chimp experiments. I love her too, but I feel like she wasn't given anything. Like she's barely in it. Um,
Oh yeah, I can't remember that actor's name. Yeah, she's
yeah,
great.
but she's wonderful. She's beautiful. She,
And they're
I
both
don't
in
know.
Bly,
Yeah, and they're great in that.
Yeah.
She's like to me the shining light in Bly because him and her because I
Yeah.
did not think Bly was very good. I actually don't even think I finished it because I was after they left, I was so bored. My faves are gone. What am I supposed to do now?
Yeah. Yeah, I need something to watch too. I might go back and watch Succession actually. No,
Hmm.
I think I'll probably just try to find some movies, to dip into. Um, I did watch one that our friend Stefan recommended that I do want to rewatch. It's called Birth/Rebirth. Have you seen it?
I don't think so.
It's got what's her name? Something Ireland, and then Okay, remember that show called Scrubs?
Yes.
And the one that was like the Dominican?
Oh, yeah, Carla. I don't
Carla.
remember the actress's name, but yeah.
Same. She's the lead. And then this other, you never watched Sneaky Pete, but the woman who was in Sneaky Pete was
Mm,
in this. Anyway, they're both great. And then you probably didn't watch Mr. Mercedes, but there was another actor, and her name is like Brita Wool, and she's also in it. So three really strong female performances.
nice.
Yeah, birth slash rebirth, and it's probably an hour and a half, and you can watch it. I mean, I'll have to watch it again because I'm like,
Yeah,
wait, what? At the end of it, so I have to watch it again. But it's enjoyable. Um,
nice.
yeah, but I should, yeah, I really need to like find like a director and
Yeah,
just
just
like go
have a
down,
list.
yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. Maybe not Argento.
You
Da,
know,
da, 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 da.
I feel like I'm going to be, well, not that I talk to any sort of like huge horror aficionados, but like sometimes I feel like I'm left out of the, or like there's a joke I'm not getting whenever I watch an Argento film where I'm just like, this guy, this, like, sorry if I sound uncultured, but I hated this movie.
I didn't hate it. I actually like this one. I think it's kind of fun. I don't like I a Tenebrae for me is like you can't get any
Yeah.
better than that one. That one is. I'll watch it right now. I love that movie. I love that movie. But this one I don't love. And I watched it twice, like you know, in a couple of days.
Do you want to hear something wild? Is like, well, I paid the $2 to rent this on Amazon. I only had like 20 minutes left and I couldn't do it. And then I waited too long. I had to pay another $2 to finish it because I was like, I can't finish this movie. Like, I was like, I'm going to die if I have to watch any more of this. And then when I watched it and it ended, I was like, yes. So, that's how I feel. I paid $4 to to watch
Oh, I
this.
think I watched it for free, but it's on some channel I guess I have and you don't, like MGM or something. Yeah.
I have it,
But
you don't.
well, no, I didn't mean it like
No,
that.
I know you
I
did.
am paying for it. I just didn't pay for it, separately. Do you want to get into it?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, Deep Red, here's the plot synopsis from IMDb. A jazz pianist and a wisecracking journalist, is she?
Barely.
Are pulled into a complex web of mystery after the former witnesses the brutal murder of a psychic. In Italian, this is Profondo Rosso, directed by Dario Argento, written by Argento and Bernardino Zapponi, starring David Hemmings, Daria Nicolodi, Gabriele Lavia, Macha Merrill, Eros Pagni, Julia Calandra, Nicoletta Elmi, Glauco Mori, and Clara Calamai. Cinematography by Luigi Cuvelier, I don't know. Edited by Franco Fratticelli. Music by Giorgio Gaslini and Goblin. And I heard that Goblin had a day to come up with the music for this, and it was
Wow.
their first soundtrack. And I can't get it, like, it's like stuck in my head.
I will say I do think that the music is a very strong. I know I know it's getting stuck in your head, but there are parts where I'm like, they had to have this crazy music here because nothing's happening. So
Yeah,
we're
that
watching a
kind.
man scale a building for 10 minutes. So I'm glad this crazy music is behind this.
I did want. There are two sections of the film that I feel go on like way too long. That's one of them.
I'm
Um,
like checking, like, I'm still watching this guy's butt as he scales this building.
And maybe it's when they're at the school. I don't know. But there's another section where I'm just like, okay, really? Like,
Okay, Argento.
this was released on the 7th of March, 1975 in Italy and has a running time of 126 minutes. How do you feel about this runtime, Matt?
Too long.
Yeah.
Could have been cut so much.
A lot could have been cut. You probably could have cut.
It would be a much better movie because, again, there are shots in this film that I'm like, what? Like, it takes my breath away. I'm like, wow, that was great. And if only there wasn't all of this other stuff that makes me fall asleep in the midst of it, it probably would be like, I would add like 2 stars.
But I bet there's some other things that you don't like about it.
Yeah.
Besides the runtime.
But the runtime and the dead air on it is the worst part to me.
Yeah. Well, in the opening shot, while a child song da 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 is playing in the background, a scream is heard. A bloody knife is thrown to the floor, and a youngster's feet stand by the knife. And I guess it's a little bit of a not a switcheroo, but a misdirect, because it sure looks like the youngster is a girl.
Yeah.
Based on their footwear.
Also, European fashion. I feel like
the
little
70s, I guess.
I feel like, there's a lot of little boys' clothing that like ekes onto looking like girls' clothing.
There was some pretty offensive stuff here in terms of Carlo's character.
Yeah.
And I guess why he was an F slur.
Yeah, that was and gosh, as soon as that got brought up, I was like, well, he's going to be tied to the crime in some way.
So, but then we are in the present day. Well, not the present day, but in the context of the movie, the present day. And Helga Ullman is at a lecture with Professor Giordani and Mario Bardi. During the presentation, Helga demonstrates her psychic prowess by telling an audience member that he has one hand in his pocket and the other is flashing a peace sign. You have one hand in your pocket, and I'm like...
She's Alanis in the room with us right now.
Helga reacts violently, to say the least, to a premonition of a, quote, twisted mind, and she says, "You have killed and you will kill again." Helga also mentions a singing child. La, da. Someone in the audience gets up and leaves. The camera glides over a series of children's toys, including a rusty switchblade and a devil figure. Like,
oh,
I kind of thought that was cool. Like, also very 70s, like, the dolls they gave us were, like, made of yarn.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like, they were like, here, kids, go play with some yarn and some marbles.
Yeah.
But I thought the fact that there was, like, a devil doll and then a rusty switchblade was significant, too. Later, Helga tells Giordani that she may know who the killer is and that she will write it down and tell him tomorrow. Then she is killed when the killer attacks her with a meat cleaver. The killer takes Helga's notes. And, but right before that, you see the table? Did you see the table with the pentagram?
Yes.
Oh, that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we also hear that song right before she's killed.
Want to give it to us one more time?
Da, 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 da. Okay, it's a catchy little tune that, do you remember that Black Mirror episode where, like, people, like, killed themselves by, like sticking skewers through their ears or whatever?
Which one is that?
Hated in the Nation.
Oh, I don't remember that part.
There were like these, there was a fake bee one, and I don't know, like some I don't know, some bee would get in their ear and they would go nuts.
Ah.
That's why. But I'm on the edge with this song. Well, okay. The killer. All we know about the killer is that they are wearing a brown raincoat and black leather gloves, and they're also wearing. I mean, not to like gender shoes, but I mean they do look like male shoes.
Yeah. They also have like
Anyway,
a very Carmen Sandiego
yeah.
vibes.
Anyway, the killer leaves her for dead, takes Helga's notes, and begins to look through her paper while Helga tries crawling away. Down in the square below Helga's apartment, Marcus is talking to his inebriated friend Carlo. Marcus expresses concern over Carlo's drinking, but Carlo says that so long as he remains drunk, he's happy. He then says that although they are both piano players, he plays for survival and Marcus plays for art. They walk past a bar that looks like Hopper's Nighthawks. They hear a scream, and Carlo speculates that someone is getting raped.
Yeah, the way he says it is just like, haha, that's probably happening right now. Whatever. Like, damn, okay.
And Marcus is kind of like, that's a real fucked up thing to say. But then he's like, "Oh, you're drunk." Like,
It's not just a, even if you're drunk, it's pretty unacceptable.
shortly after Carla leaves, Marcus looks up and sees a bloody Helga crash through her apartment window. Marcus runs up to Helga's apartment, helps her dead body out of the broken window, and sees a person in a brown raincoat running away through the square.
Okay, this like sent me. I was like, I know it's not like they had intensely great forensics back then, but you're going to the crime scene and just sticking your grubby little hands all over everything? You like, why wouldn't you call the police first? What's wrong with you?
I don't know. This happens a lot, I feel, in
It's a running
Jollywood.
theme in this movie.
Well, not just this movie, but I mean, in every Jalo that you'll see, I think.
Yeah,
Like,
people just gotta. I mean, I guess maybe it's a representation of how now they're like getting fully intertwined with the crime, but it just makes me lose. Like my sense of disbelief is already like on. I'm at the edge of my. I'm at the end of my rope here, and then that just snaps it, and now I'm just mad.
right. I did think it was kind of cool, like the glass that's like coming out of her neck. I thought
Hmm.
that was pretty nice. But, it's the 70s and it's like the blood tech
Oh, it's
is not there
so
yet. So,
bad.
but we're full on like pre-K tempera paint. Like, I don't know if you had this by the time, you know, you came along, but they had this paint that like came in powder form that, you
Mm.
poured water in it and you
Oh yeah,
stirred it
and then
up.
it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Did you have that kind when you were in
Yeah.
school? Okay. That was still around.
Hmm.
Okay. A little later, the police arrive and question Marcus about witnessing the killing. Marcus feels that something from the apartment is missing, but cannot put his finger on what it is. Just then, Jonna Bretzi, a feisty photojournalist, enters the apartment but is told to stay away by the lead detective. After his interrogation, Marcus speaks with a drunk Carlo again in the square. At Helga's funeral, Jonna points out several men who were close to Helga. Marcus sarcastically thanks her for printing his name in the local newspaper and declaring him a witness, which would make it easier for the killer to come after him.
Yeah, I literally wrote down that is buck wild. Like that's like why we have witness protection. Is like you don't do that. That's crazy. I would be so mad.
But she doesn't get this, like, I don't know if she's on the spectrum, but she doesn't get the sarcasm because she's like, "You're welcome."
I think she's just a dumb woman.
Like, yeah. Well, and then they get into the tiniest car in history.
This was like what is the tone of this film? This is like reminds me of the scene in Monsters Inc. where they get into like Mike Wazowski's new car. I think actually that was a deleted scene, but then there's like all he has all these different, doodads in his car. And then, she's like did you use the lock? Oh no, now you've ruined everything. Like, what is this death trap?
Jana suggests that she and Marcus work together to find the killer on their own. After discussing Helga's premonition with Giordani and Mario, Marcus aggressively converses with Jana about his anti-feminist views, specifically that women are weaker than men. So Jana and Marcus arm wrestle.
No, they have an Indian fight
The
or
Indian
whatever she calls
wrestle.
it. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Indian wrestle. It's like, wow, never heard that before.
I have, but it's been several decades.
And okay, where this movie goes, I understand then why this scene is in there. Like he has this
Yes.
whole idea that women are gentler and are not harsh and not strong in any way. And that's supposed to put that into the audience's minds, like that idea, which I think it would have been cooler if she had just straight up won the arm wrestling. Like she did cheat in the end. I think it would have made for a great scene if she had just simply won that
Mm-hmm.
contest.
Yeah,
But
that would have
she
been
does
better.
cheat by lifting up her elbow, which just makes her seem like she's desperate to prove her point, which is a failing point. I just feel like it's a dumb way to do that scene. I think it's great to have a male character who has those ideas because they're commonly held beliefs, but why would you prove his point in the scene?
Mm-hmm.
That's weird to me.
Marcus speaks to Carlo's mom, who mistakes him for an engineer. She tells him she was an actress, but she doesn't think it's good to dwell on the past. Marcus walks in on Carlo's partner and finds Carlo drunk in the bedroom and referring to himself as an F slur. Carlo encourages Marcus to leave, like Italy.
Yeah. Oh, well, I was gonna say it's like I again I'm disappointed with how this movie goes because I felt like this scene was actually kind of sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Like Carlo's partner is a very sweet person. Like they're just very nice and just like I love that guy, but I'm worried about him.
Yeah.
And it seems very normal. But as soon as I saw that scene, I just was like, well, I had the thought, well, he could not have killed the psychic, but I know he's going to be inextricably tied to this because he's gay, which makes him a bad person. Like I
Right.
just knew it and I was right.
Yeah, a bad person, maybe. I'm not saying any of this is right, but I mean, given the time period, I guess, um, and I guess Argento, if you're gay, you were made that way,
Yeah,
and
something bad happened to
something
you.
bad happened to you. That's why you're that way. So yeah, for
And I
sure.
even I even feel like if you have a character who hates himself, perhaps because he's gay, and now he's an alcoholic, I'm not even saying that's bad. Like that has definitely been something that has happened to a real person, but it's not handled with care in that sense. It's kind of presented as like, well, now you guys all know why he's an alcoholic, right? Is because this horrible fact about himself that he's ashamed and everyone should be ashamed of. It's not presented as like, oh, look how sad this man can't accept himself for something that is fine and beyond his control. It's just, guys, now you get it, right? It would be sad, wouldn't it? When it's like, this doesn't seem like a bad relationship he's even in. This person cares for him,
Right.
his partner cares for him. That's great.
And it's a little confusing too because Marcus, you know, isn't like horrified or anything like that. I mean, he's just like maybe he's surprised, but he doesn't comment on it at all. And he's like making meaningful eye contact with like the partner and like treating them with like a lot of care,
Yeah.
and respect. And so it's kind of confusing because Carlo hates himself and it's a little unclear like why if,
Yeah.
nobody else thinks it's a problem.
Yeah.
Marcus goes to his apartment to compose some music. As he is playing, some dust falls on his piano, and we get a POV shot of someone walking above Marcus's apartment. I gotta say, both of these movies are a little confusing in terms of like what time of day it is. Did you get
Uh,
that at all?
this feels like it's at nighttime.
Except that, like, when he's composing music, like the glass above him, there's like light coming through there. So I was like,
Says it day? Yeah, but then when it's just in his room, it feels like that was shot at night. Like when they don't show the ceiling again.
yeah.
But I do love this scene. I think this is one of the good scenes in the
Mm-hmm.
movie. I think then when he starts playing the piano, but knowing that somebody could be outside, I thought that was genius. Like he's trying to like make it seem like, oh, I don't know anybody's here.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked that.
Yeah. So he soon hears the children's song, I Won't Do It Again, followed by the sound of his door creaking open. Marcus becomes nervous, but continues playing the piano one handed as he grasps a it's like a staff, but it's got like a bird head on the top of it as a weapon. As the phone rings, Marcus jumps up and pulls the door to his room shut just when the killer attacks. The killer leaves and whispers threats to him. The killer whispers threats to him through the closed door before leaving.
And this is confusing because this voice to me sounds pretty masculine.
Yeah, the voice is like, well, maybe I didn't get you this time, but your days are numbered or something like that. Of course, it's a Giallo, so like everyone said the lines in their own language, and then everything was dubbed. Speak Italian, German, English, doesn't matter. It's all going to be dubbed into English at the end. The next day, Marcus goes to a record store and after going through albums of children's music, finds the song he heard. He meets with Giordani and Mario, who tells him a folktale involving a haunted house.
This part, I begin to get so lost. So I will need your help. Like I this whole part, maybe my attention was just waning to the nth degree, but I was very confused as to what was happening. I feel like a lot of this could have been cut.
Well, okay, so Giordani is the guy who kind of looks like Marcus.
Mm-hmm.
And he's into the more like paranormal side of things or like scientific side of things. But then this other guy, Mario, he's like, well, that's all interesting. But let me tell you this folk tale about a haunted house and like a child's song was heard, at this location after like a gruesome murder took place. And there's a book you should check out by this woman named Amanda Righetti. And so that's the next part of the story where he goes to like find the book. He finds the book and then he finds the woman herself.
I just thought that whole sequence was very weird of being like, yeah, I heard a story about a haunted house. Yeah, like every scary story ever. And then it's like, well, no, it was real. Here's the actual book. And now this is a location you can go to. I was like, what? like, I don't know.
That's exactly it.
I know, but that's confusing. That's like saying, yeah, I heard that one time somebody got scared. Well, it was actually this person in this city. Like, is the vaguest story ever.
Yeah.
You know?
And also, I mean, if you start to like think about the killer showing up at all of these places, that doesn't make any
How do they
sense.
know? There's no internet.
Yeah,
there's no how would you know to go?
In investigating the source of the music tune, the search leads Marcus to a novel titled House of the Screaming Child, which describes a long ago murder. Marcus calls Jonna from a very busy coffee shop.
The guy with like the espresso machine right next to him. Hey, why'd you put that thing there?
And she can't hear him. And then she grabs somebody by his ear and is like, let me write a note on your chest. And the guy's like, okay, I don't know. I guess you're that like feisty journalist.
You know, those feisty.
Whatever. The camera glides over the doll, the black gloves, and we see the eye of the killer, presumably.
Mm-hmm.
In attempting to find Amanda Righetti to talk to her about her book, the killer arrives at Righetti's villa first and murders her.
Okay, and now I need to bring up where I really got confused because I totally thought this was the reporter. I thought the Righetti, because the hair is the exact same.
Mm-hmm.
And I had not, like, I just got, white face blindness. Like this happens to me in movies. If you have two white people with the same haircut, I'm going to get them confused. It happens and I don't know who the actors are, which I obviously don't know these people. And I thought that he told journalist about this place and she went to go investigate it and then she got killed. And so then later in the movie I start getting so confused. um so yeah, I really, in my head, the journalist has just died.
Well, I got confused too because I do think that the guy who plays Giordani looks similar to the guy who
Yeah.
plays Marcus. And so, spoiler, when Giordani died, I was like, wait, what? They killed like the
The
main
main
guy?
character.
So I totally get that. But no, this is the writer. But she sends somebody on at the beginning of the scene. She's like, well, thanks for coming by. See you in a couple weeks or whatever. And she lives like way out in the country. And then this lady takes off. She goes in her house and there's a doll, a baby doll, like hanging like by a noose, like from the ceiling. And she's just like, weird. And like just, walks outside, like the outside of her house. But I'm sorry. If
I'm out of there.
I live alone, seemingly this person does too. If I come home and there's a baby doll hanging from the ceiling, and I didn't put it there, I'm
It's a
not
threat.
going back in my house.
Yeah. And I wrote down, I said, okay, like, I think everyone has that feeling of you get kind of scared by something, but then you realize, oh, maybe it's in my head and you push it away, even though maybe your gut feeling is like, you should invest it. Like, I think anyone with anxiety has had that feeling before of like, you're checking under your bed and you feel stupid for doing it. So I
Sure.
think it's great to depict that in a film. But I think what makes people so frustrated with horror movies when this happens is we don't get that from the character. We just get like, why the fuck are you ignoring this clear? It's not that we know what's going to happen. It's that any human would be dumb to not do any, like, give us something to make it make sense
No,
why
exactly.
they're being
I
dumb.
mean, right. If it was like something that could like conceive, like if the TV was on, like I
Yeah.
could potentially leave the TV on, go to work, for not realize it, come home, the TV's on, and be like, I thought I turned it off, but it's on. That's weird. Oh, and then I'd like I could see myself staying in the house,
Yeah.
right? But this is not that. This is like anyway.
It's like if somebody wrote, I'm going to kill you on the wall, and you're like, who put that there?
Who put
I
that
don't
there? I
know.
don't remember putting that there.
Guess I'll go in
Oh
the
well.
bathroom with my hottest pipes, the pipes that have the hottest water instantly. Like, these pipes are amazing.
All right, so she walks past the closet where we see the eye of the killer, kind of a cool shot.
Mm-hmm.
Because the eye is like all outlined in black eyeliner, and like the closet's completely black, so you just see this like boink, this like eye. So it's kind of cool. Her pet bird goes mad, and then the lights go out. Also, if my cat or my pet of any kind is going mad like this, that's a red flag. The creepy song is heard. Rigetti, spooked, holds out a knitting needle to protect herself, but one of her birds flies into it. I didn't need
Dumbass
that.
bird. You
Yeah,
think a
but
lot of
also
animal
I didn't need
cruelty
to see
in
that
this
at all.
movie.
There's a lot of animal cruelty in 70s Jalo. Like,
It like
some,
shocks you when it happens. You're like, oh God, I didn't think I was going to be seeing this today.
but I mean, it's like pretty routine. I mean, I was going to warn you about it and I forgot. Like, normally I would remember that, but it's so, like,
Yeah.
happens all the time. Rigetti is stabbed in the spine, then dragged into the bathroom and drowned in a bath with scaldingly hot water. I liked this death, though.
It
That was
was
pretty
like,
good.
they keep bringing her back up and like then her face is getting more and more burned. It was rough.
And I thought the special effects were pretty good.
Yeah.
But Rigetti manages to write a message on the wall of the steam-filled bathroom before she dies. Marcus finds the body but aware that the police will think he did it, leaves the area without calling anyone.
This also made me lose it. Like, then when he tells somebody later and they're like, well, do you think they called it in? I was like, but you didn't? Like, not even an anonymous tip? Like,
Yeah.
like come on.
Marcus removes a photo of the supposed haunted house from the novel to help him in his search for the mysterious house. The photograph shows some exotic palm trees on the house grounds. Marcus tracks down the greenhouse owner, who admits to selling a dozen or more Canary Island palms to that house, and procures the house's address from past records. Driving around, Marcus finally locates the house and learns from the caretaker, who claims that no one had lived in the house before 1963, when the previous owner was killed. We also meet the caretaker's creepy kid, and there is some unnecessary lizard torture.
That's the part that really shocked me. Was I was like, oh, that's really happening. Like, this is really a lizard with a needle poked through it. And the way that the dad of this little girl is just like, I told you not to do that. Like, hey, I told you not to torture
slaps
animals.
her in the face also, and then she's like, oh, I love tasting blood when you slap my face so hard that my lip splits and I can taste the blood. Like, what in the fuck?
Like, is the movie, like, she's just turned into the most interesting character and the movie's not about her. Like, like, can I get more about this little girl who's the worst actress I've ever seen?
Oh, sometimes, she's not the worst. I mean,
no,
Baby Marlowe is the worst. Sorry, spoiler.
I think also there's these guys, well, when we get to it, but sometimes in Argento films, it really feels like he just looked outside on the street and was like, you, come here. Can I have you for like 5 minutes? And then put him in his movie.
Probably.
Like, these people don't even know where to look, like, with the camera.
Mm-hmm. Marcus, despite being warned by the creepy kid that there are ghosts inside the house, looks around and discovers a children's drawing on a wall, long plastered over, of a little boy holding a bloody knife next to a murdered man. And I totally want a t-shirt with those drawings on it.
Yeah, the drawings were great. Very cool.
Meanwhile, Giordani, and this is sort of cut in between these scenes happening. Meanwhile, Giordani investigates the Righetti murder scene after the police collect the body and leave, and on a hunch, turns on the hot water in the bathroom and sees part of the message left on the wall by the murder victim. When Giordani returns to his office that night to investigate more, the killer breaks in and kills him too, but first distracts him with the creepiest of all creepy dolls, and then first by bashing his face against the desk, and then stabbing him through the neck.
That creepy doll highlight of the home. I rewatched it multiple times. The way it walks is so weird. And even when it's on the ground face up and the body's still walking, I was like, oh, how'd they find this thing? It's so scary.
It's very scary.
And that this stupid motherfucker breaks the doll. He doesn't know where the doll came from, but he smiles as if like, well, the danger's over now. No, who put the doll there, stupid? And then when he gets hit in the head with like a fire poker, there's no sound.
No.
Like, he might as well have been hit with a pool noodle.
Yes.
I said bonk out loud when I saw it because that's it just, and he's like, oh, I don't know.
But then when he gets stabbed in the neck, that's my favorite kill.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, spoiler. I'm going all out of order today. When Marcus learns of Giordani's murder, he makes plans to leave town, but then discovers the clue that he overlooked in the photo of the deserted house. A window on one of the walls is missing. Marcus returns to the house after dark, and after unsuccessfully trying to bash in the wall where the window was, which leads to him nearly falling off the scaffolding, he enters the house and, using a pickaxe, bashes down an end wall in a hallway and discovers the secret room with a rotting skeleton next to a Christmas tree.
Okay, this is one of the scenes where I was like, how long can we watch this guy climb, and how long can we watch him break down this wall? Like,
a long time.
A long time. And meanwhile, the goblin music, like the craziest sounds you've ever heard.
The killer arrives and knocks Marcus out. When he regains consciousness, he finds the house on fire and Jonna by his side. She had arrived in the nick of time to pull him out of the house. A minute or two longer, and you'd have been a roast duck, baby.
And here's where I was like, I must have misremembered something. Why is she sitting before me, totally alive? I start coming up with theories like, okay, this is a creepy doll movie. Is she a doll? Like, I'm just like, I don't know what's going on right now.
I guess it's conceivable she could have pulled him down like at least 2 flights of stairs by herself
Yeah,
while the
but
house was
how?
aflame.
But how did she know to go there? And also, why didn't the killer
Yeah.
just stab him in the neck?
Marcus and Jonna go to the villa caretaker's house to call the police and fire department when Marcus discovers that the caretaker's young daughter, Olga, the creepo, had drawn an identical drawing of the little boy with the bloody knife standing next to a Christmas tree. Olga tells him that she found the drawing and copied it from old file archives at her junior high school. What?
She's like, sometimes what I'm for detention, I'm made to clean these. And I was just looking through them. Meanwhile, it takes him like 8 years to find it. How did this little girl find it and copy it from memory?
Marcus and Jonna break into Da Vinci Junior High School to search the archives for the drawing when Jonna is stabbed by the killer and Marcus finds the painting with the name on it, which is Carlo, who appears before Marcus holding a gun and threatening to kill him for getting too close.
There is a scene here that I thought was also, or a shot that's also great when Marco is sitting in a room looking at it and we see a shadow on the wall and we think it's just the shadow of him, but then it moves across and then that's when he gets up and realizes somebody else is there. I was like, okay, I got to give it to you. That one was great.
Also, the shot of Jonna, like, with that, I don't know how to describe it. Like, she's in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, and then the upper left-hand corner of the screen is this really beautiful, beautiful window.
Mm-hmm.
It's like green and white, and I don't know, it's like really cool. It reminded me of Suspiria. There's like a shot like that in Suspiria, I think. Just then, the police led by the superintendent Calabrini arrive, and Carlo flees, but in a twist of fate, he gets sideswiped by a passing garbage truck, which he gets hooked onto the fender and gets dragged down the street to his gruesome death.
This was one of the scenes where definitely these garbage men in the truck were just 2 guys he pulled off the street, because the way the B-roll footage of them like talking to each other, there's no audio and they just look like they're flapping their mouths, just saying anything. Like
Yes.
I could just hear him behind the camera being like, okay, now just talk about anything. Okay, we got it.
There was also a shot earlier, which I didn't include, where there's a news story going on in the background and somebody is smoking like the fastest anyone has ever smoked a cigarette, like in the foreground. So yeah, I totally agree with you in terms of like pulling people off the street. With the case apparently wrapped up, with Carlo assumed to be the killer, Marcus drops off the severely wounded Jonna at the hospital, but in going back to the scene of the crime, tries to remember what he thought he saw. Carlo could not have murdered Helga Ullman because he was with Marcus on the street when they saw the killer stabbing Ullman. Marcus enters the murder victim's apartment and after looking around finally remembers what he saw in a mirror reflection that night, the face of the killer.
No!
The identity of the killer is finally revealed to be Carlo's insane mother, Martha. Martha suddenly appears in the apartment and reveals everything to Marcus. When Carlo was still a child, he watched as his mother murdered his father when the father tried to have her committed to a mental hospital. The young Carlo and mother then entombed the body in a room of their house. Wielding a meat cleaver, Martha chases Marcus around the complex and into the foyer with an elevator. Marcus gets hit in the shoulder by the cleaver, and in the process, he kicks Martha toward the elevator shaft. Her excessively long necklace slips through the crossed metal bars. She tries to pull herself away, and in doing so, the large pendant on the end of the necklace becomes lodged between two small metal bars. As Martha is desperately trying to free her necklace, Marcus realizes she is caught and presses the button to activate the lift. It travels downward, and the necklace starts choking her tightly. Her hands her hands are clad in black leather gloves, making her fingers much too thick to slip in between her neck and the necklace to try to save herself before it's too late. The elevator provides so much force that the necklace ends up cutting through her neck, decapitating her, creating a huge, deep red blood stain all over the marble floor.
Asterisk, bright red blood stain.
That's what one of the
Oh,
That's what one of the people said in the letter.
great minds.
And I think it's Jonathan Cuartas, who's like director of one of my favorite movies. But anyway, I really want to have him on the pod. Jonathan, if you listen, I know you always like my stuff on Instagram, but if you ever want to come on the pod, we'd love to talk to you about your wonderful movie. My heart can't beat unless you tell it to.
Oh, that movie. You're a big fan.
Co-writer, you're a fan?
You're a big fan.
I'm a huge fan. Co-writer Bernardino Zapponi said the inspiration behind the murder scenes came from him and Dario Argento thinking of painful injuries that the audience could relate to. Basically, not everyone knows the pain of being shot by a gun, but everyone has at some point accidentally struck furniture or been scalded by hot water.
I do like that. That's true, and I think it's pretty insightful.
After the international success of Dario Argento's next film, Suspiria, Profondo Rosso was released in Japan under the title Suspiria 2, even though it has no plot connections to Suspiria and was made 2 years prior to it. The role of Carlo's male transvestite lover, Massimo Ricci, was actually played by actress Geraldine Hooper. Do we say male transvestite lover?
No, I think that's pretty offensive.
Yeah.
I would say like cross-dresser, I guess. Okay. I mean, like, if he's presented as male, I guess it would be male cross-dresser.
I think the character is supposed to, I don't know what we're supposed to think, because
I don't know either.
I mean, I knew it was a woman, but there's like a penciled in like mustache.
Yeah, so, I just thought it was supposed to be like a gay man in a robe.
Yeah. But then like they're wearing a bra. So it's like, what's going on? I feel like that's intentional. I feel like Argento kind of likes that. Like ambiguity, like you don't really know.
Yeah.
But sorry about that. I just stole this from Wikipedia. So I guess we could say the role of Carlo's cross-dressing lover.
Or well, I don't even know if we could just say Carlo's lover.
Carlo's lover. David Hemmings and Daria Nicolodi rehearsed the arm wrestling scene over 70 times, driving Dario Argento, who doesn't like to repeat things too many times, crazy in the process.
Wow, 70 is kind of egregious.
Why? I don't...
Yeah, what was the issue? Again, I think you just should have rewritten the scene.
The film was originally titled La Tigre dai Denti Scabola, the saber-toothed tiger, following the naming pattern of Dario Argento's previous thrillers. However, much to Argento's annoyance, other directors had started using similar animal-related titles for their own genre films, so he decided to go a different direction. This was the first movie with Dario Argento's longtime partner Daria Nicolodi. She would appear in, if not play significant roles in Argento's next 5 films until their relationship ended. What does Letterboxd have to say about it? Snailer Moon gave it a 0.5 star. This is easily a 4.5 star movie, but it gets the half treatment due to animal cruelty. TJ gave it a 0.5 star. It's pretty bad when even Joe Bob can't get me through a movie. I can't really give it a proper review. My attention kept waning. I was just not compelled in the slightest with anything going on. I guess some people find this film to be brilliant. Good for them. My view, I've taken shits more brilliant than this cinematic NyQuil.
I gotta say, that's pretty much how I feel.
I think cinematic NyQuil is pretty good.
That's genius.
Oddman Eric gave it 1 star. More like deep shit.
Got him, Eric.
Mark Dracosan gave it 5 stars. That wind-up doll might be the scariest thing in all of Argento's films.
That's fair. That doll was highlight. Peak.
Brad Hansen gave it 4.5 stars. Some people like to nitpick about the finer points of the narrative, like motivation and plausibility and all that. To those people, I'd say, it ain't that profundo, bro. Just vibes. Jonathan Quartos gave it 3.5 stars. More like bright red.
Great
I don't
minds.
have a phobia. We did erythrophobia last time, and that's the fear of the color red. How would we rate it?
Mirrors?
Sure.
2.5.
Oh, really?
If this had not been for the pod, I wouldn't have finished it.
Okay.
But I have to give it, that doll earns at least 2 stars. But I feel like if he had just cut so much of the film out and made it a little bit clearer as to what was going on, it could easily be much better. Because again, I think those shots are so good that they could have gotten me through it, but they weren't enough to get me through all of that.
If you hadn't been watching it for the podcast, where would you have? When would you have turned it off?
That's a good question. I would say probably when they started going to the whole like around that part with about the scary story, because that is really where I started to be like, okay, wow, this is rough. But up until that point, I was like, I'm not into it, but I'm here, But that would have been the point where I would have been like, okay, there's a better use for my time.
But then you would have missed the scalding death and you would have missed the doll.
This is true. I would have missed the doll, which is by and large the best part. But again, we should get to the doll a lot sooner. What about you?
I'm with Jonathan Quartos. I'll give it 3.5. I don't love it. I love Tenebrae, but I don't love it's fine.
Yeah.
I like him more than you do, clearly, but give me Tenebrae any day of the week. And twice on Sunday. What have we learned from this movie?
If there's a red flag, heed it. Heed that warning.
Yeah. Also, if somebody tells you to get out of town, no one's ever told me to get out of town, but I feel like if anyone did, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, all right.
Sounds fair, yeah. I think it's probably something I should do.
Maybe investigate things fully so that you don't just pin it on whoever's most convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they do, like Carlo did commit a crime by shooting, but he still didn't do the other stuff, so
moms don't make you gay, and even if they did, it wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yes.
Would we watch it again?
No.
I will, but you won't. Did you have a favorite scene or kill?
I love that doll scene, but I guess for favorite kill, I will go for the scalding water. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I like that one a lot too, but I do like the knife through the back of the neck. I think that's
pretty brutal.
Scary, and yeah. Who wins the You Fool Award?
The author. Well, the author and the guy with the doll. Like both of them. The psychic, she was innocent in all of this. It's not her fault. She was not a fool. That came on pretty suddenly. Though maybe I wouldn't broadcast during your seance that there's somebody with evil thoughts in the room, because that means that there's people with evil thoughts in the room.
Yeah.
So maybe all of them are fools.
Yeah, I think the author, I just don't get that at all.
Yeah.
I'm with you too, Giordani. Like you said, like he thinks that everything's fine, like as if the doll were
As
the
if that's
danger and
normal.
not the person like who is distracting you with the doll.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think Rigetti's worse because she goes into her own house. I don't know what
Willingly.
she was expecting to find,
Yeah.
but yeah, a bunch of dummies in this movie.
Fools.
Fools. You want to take a break?
Yeah.
I was looking up fear of dolls, and because I mean, obviously that's like just sitting right there on the table. Um, let's see. Pediophobia is a type of autom autom automatonophobia, which is a fear of inanimate objects that appear human, or a fear of anything that simulates a real human being.
That's pretty creepy.
Yeah.
Uncanny Valley and all that.
And all that.
Well, should we get into it?
Yeah. Okay. Before we get into it, I looked up the age of the actor who plays Andy.
Uh-huh.
He's the same age as Quinn. So as you're thinking about this movie, I want you to think about little Andy as little Quinny.
Oh, I mean, he is so cute. I think I wrote in my notes,
cute.
he is so cute so many times. That's a great child actor. He did a great job.
And he's still like, you know, he appeared in a number of I don't know if he appeared in all of them, but he appeared in a number of the films, and he's been in the show as well.
Oh,
so
that's good.
Really great for him.
I like that with horror franchises. Whenever if they bring it back, like they pay homage to the OGs. That's nice.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Uh-oh. Didn't like it.
Okay, I gotta say something to all you people who call this a classic. Okay, maybe it was iconic, but that doesn't mean that it's good. And I will stand on that, firmly on that. You know what is a classic and is good? Nightmare on Elm Street. To me, good writing. Schlocky, yes, but good writing. Doesn't make me angry, but this movie had me seething.
Oh, wow.
Luffy wants to get out. Rebecca.
Okay.
All my children wanted to come in.
What a wonderful pantomime. That was just so lovely to see.
Oh, did you see him stand up?
Yeah, he did. He stood right up.
So cute. And then, like, cats are just so... They're just cats. You open up the door after they meow for it, and they're like, why'd you do that?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, because you stood in front of it and screamed at me?
Oh, she came in and then went right back out.
She's so cute. All right.
I just want to say, okay.
Yes.
I take your point. I watched this with a critical eye this time. I don't know how many times I've seen it. The first time I saw it was in the theater when I was pregnant with your brother. So, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I know, listen, something can be enjoyable and still be bad. I was a fan of Jimmy Buffett. So there you go. Rest in peace, Jimmy Buffett. Your songs were objectively not very good. But did I enjoy them? Yes. But that does not mean... I feel like that is an important distinction that needs to be made. Just because something is enjoyable, we can't just give it credit if it's written poorly.
Okay.
That's my point. Okay.
I do think, okay, we'll get there. There are lots of problems with this, like massive, massive problems with it. But I do think there's some stuff going on in here that's pretty clever. That's not like other creepy doll movies. Okay, let's get
I'll
into
give
it.
my opinion. And I hope we do not have the Mac effect. That's not my goal here. The goal, it
Oh,
actually
it
pains me
might happen.
sometimes whenever you're like,
Oh, why?
oh, like I don't like this movie as much now because I
Oh,
don't want to make anybody enjoy something less. But I can't.
it
I
doesn't
have
bother
so
me. It
okay.
doesn't bother
That's
me.
good.
I don't know about other people, but I can only speak for myself. I actually like it
Okay.
because it helps me to see it in a different light. And you've never like ruined something. You've never
Okay.
ruined anything for me. You've just made me think about it in a different way.
Okay.
So I
That
like
that
that.
I'm cool with cuz like again, I I to me enjoying something is such a pure human thing. I would never want to trample on that for anyone. And I don't know what it is about me. I think this is true of most people. Of like there's so much more to say when you have issues with something than there is when something's perfect. Because if it's perfect, all you can really say is that was great. That was
Mm-hmm.
amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy pointing out things I don't like. Like it's a favorite thing of mine. Cuz I get so passionate. But okay. So, I will say I did enjoy this though. Like
Oh,
it's
good.
enjoyable. Like I
And it's
can
short.
and I you can sit through the whole thing and have something to look at the whole time. Okay. So here's the brief summary of Child's Play from IMDb. A struggling single mother unknowingly gifts her son a doll imbued with a serial killer's consciousness. It was directed by Tom Holland, with screenplay by Don Mancini, John Lafayette, and Tom Holland. Story by Don Mancini. It stars Catherine Hicks as Karen Barclay, Chris Sarandon as Detective Mike Norris. In some angles, he really did look like McNulty from The Wire, especially when he had that cable knit sweater on. That was so McNulty to me. Um, Alex Vincent as Andy Barclay, Dina Manoff as Maggie Peterson, Tommy Swerdlow as Jack Santos, Jack Colvin as Dr. Ardmore, Raymond Oliver as John Dr. Death Bishop, Neil Gintoli as Eddie Caputo, Brad Dourif as Charles Lee Ray / Chucky, Eden Gross as Friendly Chucky. No, as it's not Friendly Chucky. It's the good guy.
Yeah, buddy, or yeah, the good guy doll.
John Franklin as Walkabout Chucky, and Ed Gale as Chucky, the in-suit performer. Oh, wow. Cinematography by Bill Butler and edited by Edward Warshilka and Roy E. Peterson. Music by Joe Renzetti, and it was released November 9th, 1988, with a runtime of 87 minutes. Mwah, perfect runtime. We got it under 90 minutes. You're my hero. So, we begin with Detective Mike Norris chasing the fugitive serial killer Charles Lee Ray through the streets of Chicago and into a toy store after Ray is abandoned by his accomplice, Eddie Caputo. He's shot by Norris and is dying and is stumbling through the store. And okay, here's just where we get my first question is just he crashes through this bunch of dolls, a bunch of these good guy dolls, and we just get still several shots of Mike Norris being like, "Where is that guy?" Come on. You're in an empty store. Like it's dead quiet, and somebody's just crashed through a bunch of toys, and you're like, "Oh, I wonder where he is." Come on. It kind of put me off it put me in a bad mood as soon as we get in there. Because I just want things to make sense, okay? I just want everything to be clear, or else I'm frustrated. Um but and then he starts loudly chanting a voodoo chant, which, okay, I do find this pretty offensive also. Whenever in movies, people are just like, I don't know, it's voodoo. It's pretty like, okay, I mean, it's a whole thing. It's not just like voodoo, you know? Um, I think it's a thing mostly white people do, in their movies. Like, this is creepy. But he starts performing this voodoo chant to transfer his soul into a nearby good guy brand talking doll. And then the store is then struck by some 1988 special effects lightning and explodes. And then Norris finally finds his way to Ray's lifeless body next to the doll.
Just want
Like,
to say one
heap
thing.
dolls. Yes.
Remember when Martin was on and we talked about Dr. Terror's House of Horrors? And there was that one voodoo story,
Hmm.
and they talked about Damballa, and apparently you guys are not like huge Chucky fans, because I was like, that's the god that Charles Lee Ray prays
Oh.
to in Chucky, and you guys were like, oh yeah, okay, old lady. Fun fact.
It
Well,
was
it
a
is a
fun
fun
fact.
fact.
It was. You were right.
No, I just remember that moment you guys were like, oh,
Wait, is that wrong?
kind of.
I'm sorry. I'll show more. It's less of being like, okay, old lady, and more just being like, I'll take your word for it. Like, I didn't know that. That's cool. So, oh, and I wrote down, I love that he knows the chant off the cuff and chose the creepiest doll in the store to do it too.
Yeah. Although I'll
um,
say they rebooted this in 2019 and I didn't see it. I was going to watch it. It's not available. But I watched the kill count for it, the 2019 version, and that doll is worse. Like way creepier.
well, because that's the thing is, I do feel like dolls were made like this. Like there are
Yes.
dolls that are objectively creepy. Like the little Patch Kids, some of those fuckers are so scary.
You mean
Like,
the Cabbage Patch dolls?
yeah, the Cabbage Patch dolls, like
They're
they
they're
they're
scary looking.
creepy.
Yes.
Yeah, so like creepy dolls are a thing that just get made. You don't have to make them excessively creepy because that almost ruins it. Because you're like, well, how could anyone not be like, I can't sleep with that thing? But people legit have that feeling. My whole life, I've known people being like, oh yeah, my grandma's got this creepy ass room with all these dolls. I hate sleeping in there because they're all looking at me. Like that's a thing that
Yeah.
everyone has experience with. So you don't need to make them too creepy. I think this is a perfect level of creepy. So then we meet the widow, Karen Barclay. And well, no, actually, first we meet her 6-year-old son, Andy, who, yeah, she leaves unattended a lot. At first, I was very confused as to what's happening because he's shoddily putting together this breakfast, but it's such a charming little scene. Like, it's, again, this kid, I just think nails the cute, adorable kid while also just being definitely a child so well because he's putting together this breakfast and he's pouring milk everywhere, like in the cereal, like it's all over the table. I was like, I thought this was wild. He puts some toast in the toaster, it comes out black, and he just instantly grabbed that shit out of the toaster. I was like, son, that thing is hot. I can't do that. Like this little kid didn't get his fingers burned. I wrote down, he just free grabbed that toast. And oh, then I also wrote, did this scene make you nervous to have Sam? Like, I just imagine being pregnant and you're watching this kid make chaos in this
No,
house.
I didn't even think about it.
hmm And I also wrote that good guy is a hilarious name for a doll.
Mm-hmm.
Because he is watching like a cartoon. Apparently, the good guy brand is this also cartoon, but he's like, oh, I've already seen this one, and turns the TV off. And I wrote down, I love this kid. This kid is so cute. Um, and so we find out he's making breakfast for his mom, and it's his birthday that he's doing it on, but he just wants to wake her up so he can get his presents. And, he gives her the breakfast, and the mom is very sweet also. I love this actress. I think she does a great job. And she's just like, oh, honey, well, you know what? I'm going to eat this later. Do you want to open up your presents? I think this scene's so cute. And so it turns out that the good guy, they got these dolls and he really wanted one for his birthday. And there is a toy box, or there's a box that's wrapped that looks like it could be the same size as the toy. But when he opens it up, it's clothes. What kid wants clothes for their birthday? And it looks so disappointed, but he's like, no, it's fine. I wanted the good guy doll, but she couldn't afford one because it was $100. And apparently in 1988, that is 250, it would be $257 now. And yeah, that is a lot of money for a doll.
For a,
Um,
there's no fucking way.
yeah, like
There's
this
no
single
fucking
mom
way.
who works in like a department store.
I mean, and I think they're playing on the Cabbage Patch doll craze, which was earlier than this. But I mean, people did pay 100. I mean, they paid a lot of money for Cabbage Patch dolls, and but I'm like $250.
That's
There's
wild.
no fucking way.
It's so rough too now with like video games. Like if you want to get the, even like forget getting a game, you want to get the newest console. Like it took me and Alan years to get the PS5 because that's how difficult it was to get one. And it still is.
Mhm.
You can't just go and get one even now.
Really?
And yeah, I'm pretty sure you can't just go and get one. Like you have to like we got it online and then to get a game, so your parent first has to spend like $500 to get you the console, and then any game you want to get, regardless of quality, is probably $60. Like they haven't changed that, and even like Nintendo, their old games, like a game that's like 5 years old, will still be $60 today. You cannot sell a 5-year-old game for $60, but they don't care. So at least I feel like if I was a child trying to ask trying to and you're feeling like you're missing out on all the fun everybody else is playing this game. At least I'm an adult now who can just waste my money if I want to. But I feel bad for any kid who wants to play video games and they don't have a rich parent because you'd
Well,
have to be rich.
now I do too. I mean, I feel like I can understand like somebody in their 20s or 30s or 40s or whatever, like having a bunch of video games that they play. Like that makes sense because it's your money. You can do whatever you want with it. But like
Yeah.
to think about spending money like that on a kid, like that's insane to me.
And you don't even know if the game's going to be good because there's also all these knockoff games getting made. So I can see, and they exist so that parents who don't know, but they're like, I don't want to spend that much. I'll get you this. And that's all you get for like Christmas is a shitty game. Like, I just feel like that
Oh,
must happen to so many kids now.
I'm glad I'm not. I'm glad I'm out of the game as far as that goes.
Yeah. I mean, it seems rough.
And like the whole Cabbage Patch thing, like I didn't want one, and I probably was like the wrong. I don't know exactly the dates, but like I was either too old or too young. I missed it.
yeah.
It wasn't like a thing in my family.
Hmm.
But I mean, I remember the whole phenomenon, and I didn't know about money. I mean, I didn't have any concept of money or anything like that. But I mean, I just thought it was kind of crazy that people were getting like into fist fights and stuff, like adults were, to
Yeah.
get a hold of these dolls and stuff.
I was just talking to Alan about this, about like it I remember when I was younger and at like a place that you worked, it was like the tutoring place, and I was
Mm-hmm.
in like the break room talking with a coworker of yours, and she said something that I like even as a kid I was like, "Oh, that is so profound. It makes so much sense." She was saying that I think her grandson did not have like they didn't let him watch just cable television, which is full of commercials. And it's even worse now with like, YouTube or other things, or like influencers like showing off games that they're playing or whatnot. But at the time you have all these commercials that are like, kids, you need this thing. But she was like, well, he can only watch PBS, and his Christmas wish list is just like very basic things, which to me is so much better than making a kid feel like to be happy they need to get like you're already getting the capitalist ideas into them of like you need to consume to be happy. Like that gets instilled to them so young, and that's why you then have parents who do get into fist fights because they're like, well, my kid needs this thing, they need to have it. It's like, no, they don't. They
Well,
really don't. And they wouldn't even know that they want it if they didn't see these manipulative commercials.
Well, a couple of things. One, I had this memory where like we didn't watch a whole lot of TV when I was very little, and I just remember like being over at some friend's house and them like every time a commercials came on, they'd be like, "My dad's going to buy me this. My dad's going to buy me this. My dad's going to buy me this." And like a
God.
McDonald's commercial came on, and I was like, "My dad's going to buy me Ronald McDonald." Like I didn't even understand. Like just didn't even understand what we were doing. Like what game are we
Yeah.
playing? Because it like wasn't really a part of my childhood. There was that thing, but the other thing I wanted to say about this movie is the way that she is in terms of getting the doll for him, and then when she gives him the doll, and he's so like excited about it, and I mean, she really is like buying his love. And, but she's like happy to do it, and
Yeah.
they don't get into like what happened with the dad. Like, I guess he's dead, but like, or like, I don't know, the guilt that she feels like having to work all the time or something like that. Like they don't spell any of that out, but I think the directing and the acting is really good because we see it
Yeah,
on her face.
I think so too. And I think like she they spell this more out, I think. And I think I did watch the remake, but I didn't like it. I can't really remember, but I do know that they really point out multiple times in the remake that this kid has no friends. But that's clearly the idea here, is that he wants, because the good guy doll is presented as like a friend for your kid. He can say all these things to him, and
Hmm.
Andy treats him like his friend and like his companion. Um and I do like that they don't beat you over the head with just like, well, this kid's got no friends. It's just, we know. Like, the mom
Yeah.
doesn't have time to be like a homemaker and like arrange play dates and stuff. And he's in this city that's very cold and very like, he's in a huge apartment building. He's not in like a suburban neighborhood where there'd be kids running around. So he's very isolated. So he must be very lonely, that this is the one thing that he wants. Um,
Yes.
and I think that is really good, and it's done well. And it doesn't need to be spelled out because we get it from context clues.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
I do like this mom. Like, I think this is a very sweet mom, and she just wants the best, but is clearly struggling because, like, raising a child is not a one person job. It is a multiple people job.
I
So,
agree.
yeah. So we later see mom working at the department store, and her friend Maggie, who is the sweetest and is the best. I love that she has a female best friend
Hmm.
who is so close to. And she's like, "Well, there's a homeless man out back who's selling these dolls. So let's go get one." And so she buys a discounted good guy doll, and he at first says like, "Give me." Yeah, at first he's like, "Give me $50." And she's happy to pay that amount because she knows how disappointed Andy is. But then her friend is like, "No, we'll give you nothing more than 10." And he's like, 30. And then they settle on like 25 or something. But I just love this, her feisty friend. Um, and so she then and then she has like the worst employer ever, who's like, "Sorry, you're gonna have to work late tonight." And she's like, "I literally have a child to get home to." And he's like, "Well, too bad, so sad. I'll let you go home for like 1 hour and then you have to come back." So Maggie says that she'll babysit Andy for the night. What a great friend. And so in her 1 little hour break, she comes home and she gives Andy the doll, and he's so happy. And then the doll is like, "Hi, I'm Chucky," which is not what the dolls are called. So we, the audience, already know that's kind of crazy. It was a little bit weird. Um, and so that night, Andy and Chucky have the same pajamas. They do look very cute. And they're playing with these, like, there's like a good guy toy belt set, and Maggie's in the kitchen. Um, So then, she puts Andy. Oh, yeah. At one point, Andy's like, "Aunt Maggie, Chucky says he wants to watch the 9 o'clock news." And she's like, "Oh, did he now? Well, you have to get to bed." So tells him to leave. And, and so then, I guess she's making like cookies or something. She's got all this flour out. Um, but we see like Chucky in the background. Well, we don't really see him. We just kind of know something's moving around in the background. And this reminded me, there's a great episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer with an evil doll. And there's the scariest scene that like traumatized me in a good way, I think. As a kid, whereas like it's completely dark, but this doll just quickly runs across the room and you just see its shadow, and oh, it's so scary. And they kind of do that here. And I also wrote down, being a kid that no one listens to is very scary,
Yeah,
because
yeah. I feel very sad for this boy.
me too. Like
Um,
he tries so hard so often, and it just never amounts to anything. And I also wrote down, why did they ever name Chucky in the Rugrats after this? Like, there's a
oh,
character in the Rugrats with red hair named Chucky.
oh yeah,
Why
maybe.
would they
Yeah,
do that?
I don't know. That's funny. He does kind of look like Chucky too.
Yeah,
I
and
never
but he
put that
couldn't be
together.
he couldn't. Oh, and yeah, as a kid, obviously, I didn't know child's play, so I didn't know that that was a thing. But I feel like if you were a parent watching, maybe there were some who were like, that's weird." Um, so so basically, Maggie hears all this little skittering about, and she feels kind of weirded out, but like we were talking about before, she kind of is like, well, it's probably all in my head. And I think what's great, what is a good depiction of this is then there's a phone call, and it's Karen on the other line asking how things are going. Maggie sounds kind of freaked out, and she's like, you know what? I've been scaring myself. So, she has a moment talking to another human, and that's why she gets snapped out. I think that's smart. But then, after she hangs up the phone, Chucky hits her with the little hammer and then pushes her out of the window. I was
Yeah.
like, "Damn, this toy has so much force to push a grown woman, break a window, and then she falls to her death." Damn. And then we'd see Karen get home from the bus, which is another great little detail.
Mhm.
And she sees cops all around her apartment and breaks through and goes into her apartment and sees that Andy's okay, but then learns that that Maggie has died. So, Mike Norris, we see him again, immediately suspects Andy because then they notice little footprints in the flour, and I guess very convenient that he happens to be the exact same shoe size as the good guy dolls. But Andy says that he doesn't know what happened, but later comes out and says, I know who did it. It was Chucky. Chucky pushed Aunt Maggie out the window. And everyone's like, okay, little kid. And Karen just tells him to go back to sleep. And then he says to the mom, well, Chucky says that his real name was Charles Lee Ray and he was an angel, or that dad, sent him back down from heaven to be my friend. And I just can't believe that that never comes back up. Like,
It does come up. What do you mean?
Karen never mentions that to Mike Norris.
No, but Mike Norris tells her that he shot Charles Lee Ray. So then she's like,
But then,
well,
no, but I know for a fact she does not mention, because, well, okay, I'll get to it at that part of the story.
okay.
But so later Karen finds Andy speaking to Chucky in the dark, and Andy relays the fact that Chucky says that Aunt Maggie was a real bitch and got what she deserved, which obviously Karen just thinks is Andy speaking and blaming it on Chucky. And so she's like, how could you say something like that? And she's shocked. And so then she closes the door and kind of stands outside. And we can see that Chucky the doll knows that she's still standing there. So then he says in his little friendly voice, I like to be hugged. And then Andy gives him a hug. And so everybody still just believes that Andy maybe is a murderer. I did also, okay, so this just begins my little bit of like
Yeah.
issues, because I said, would the detective not find it suspicious that Charles died after chanting atop of the same type of dolls? Like, is that not,
Well, I
he
guess
never puts that together.
they're so ubiquitous that like
Mm.
I mean, I don't yeah, no, I don't I think it's okay that he doesn't put it together. Because everyone has to have this doll. Like it's just become just
That, I think that
thing.
should have been made more clear, because I just think
I
for a
but
detective, you
I
don't
think
even think about that.
you're too young for this movie, Mac. Like you didn't have anything like this in your childhood. Like you don't understand. Like before people were like punching each other in the face to get Cabbage Patch dolls, we didn't have people punching people in the face to get toys. We didn't have this is before people were like killing each other in Walmarts on Black Friday. Like all you've had that in your background knowledge, but for me and people in my generation when we were watching this film, we had just lived through it. Like it was brand new.
Okay.
Ah!
I take what you're
Your
saying.
face.
I still believe that there are parts of this movie that begin to not gel with me, where I'm
Okay.
just like, I cannot
I'm
suspend. These people are too stupid to be real.
okay. I think I've run out of cards to play because there's like and you'll see all the bold in my notes is
Okay.
me being like, this is ridiculous. Like this is like insane where this movie goes.
I also just wrote like it would be crazy if a child pushed a grown woman out of a window. Like I just think the
Yeah,
force of
no,
that
that is
is
pretty hard to believe. I mean, I what Chucky tells Andy and what Andy tells the cops later is she's it's like she fell backwards because she was so scared, which
yeah.
is sort of believable. But
It's also the weakest glass ever because somebody would have already fallen out of that glass if that was the case, you know?
yeah, for sure.
Like you think for an apartment window, it would be sturdier.
And for a
Um,
window in Chicago where it's
yeah,
like
where there's
super cold.
wind.
Yeah.
It's known as the Windy City. And I also just wrote, this is the worst birthday of all time. Your Aunt Maggie dies, you get pinned, the murder gets pinned on you, mom has to work late. Damn. And I also wrote this poor mom because I do think she's great. Um, I think sometimes moms they're not depicted very well, but I think this is a very well depicted mom. She's just
Mhm.
always there for her kid. Um, and I but I also said this room and this is not just an issue with Child's Play. So many movies fall into this, pretty much every movie, but it's still a gripe of mine. I said this kid's room is so decorated and their apartment is so big for her to be too poor to spend $100.
That's a problem, but that's also,
That's
I
every
mean,
movie
that's
ever.
every
So
movie. I mean, if they, yeah, she'd be on a ground floor for one thing. Yeah.
yeah,
And I mean, it would be, yeah, a quarter of the size if it were like reality. I mean, I lived in a studio, you know, one of the apartments I had when your brother was little was a studio. So,
yeah.
yeah.
But that's just ever present. So the next day, Andy is going to school with Chucky in tow.
First
I
of
love
all,
his.
that wouldn't be allowed.
I wrote that down. I was like, bringing that giant doll to school? No
The
way.
doll, like if WoHos, if you haven't seen the film, like the doll's just about as big as the kid.
Yeah, like, and I thought a really great way to write that in is if it had been like show and tell day or something. Like if he had
Right.
said it's show and tell day, so I'm going to bring Chucky to school. If even that was a lie, because I feel like you could have had Karen be like, "Honey, I don't think you can bring that," and then him lie and say, "Well, I want to show everybody the great present you got me," and then Karen could be like, "Oh, that's so sweet. He really loves this that I got this for him."
I feel like these were young writers and these were people who didn't have kids who
Yeah,
wrote this script because there's there's
no way.
this whole day never could have happened.
That's what I thought too. Was I was like, listen, I know it's supposed to be back in the day. I know kids were not as helicopter parented as they are today, but nobody on this bus, nobody in this area is like, hey, what's that kid doing here? Can we call somebody?
That's like it's a decade late too late. I think you could have
Mm,
gotten away with this in 1978, but I don't think you could have gotten away with this in 1988.
yeah,
So I had a problem with that too.
but Andy skips school. Also, the school doesn't catch him skipping school, which I was like, well, it's a children's school, so they would be
Yeah.
really on top of that because they wouldn't want a lawsuit. But,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I do think the
Maybe in
writers
the
must have been young,
70s. Yeah,
and
maybe.
maybe they grew up then, and so they were like, well, this is how it is.
Maybe.
So Andy cuts school. He gets on a bus. This is despite it being very unbelievable, it is a cute little montage of him just, with the Chucky on the bus, looking so cute in his little outfit. He looks adorable. Um, and so the plan is Chucky is trying to take him to Eddie Caputo's house because he wants to tie up those loose ends. So uh, Andy gets off the bus in a sketchy neighborhood in Chicago with a bunch of houseless people, with their barrels of fire. Yeah, no one from the school calls Karen. Because like 'cause that's just life in the big city. um, so at one point they're in this like I guess area with abandoned homes, and Andy's like, "Well, Chucky, I'll be right back. I have to go pee," and goes to pee in this trash heap. And Chucky sneaks away, and when Andy comes back, the rocking chair he put him in is empty. So Caputo's hiding in this disgusting house with all these huge rats running around, and Chucky comes in and turns on the gas stove, but then blows the flame out so that Eddie won't realize that there's gas, even though it would smell. But I'll let them have that. And yeah, I did like this the movement from the rocking chair to like be as though Chucky has just like ran away is pretty great. And there is like a POV shot from way low on the ground from what would be Chucky's little POV as he's doing all these things in the house. But Eddie stirs and he's like, "Hey, who's in there?" And he tries to figure out what's going on. And it's so funny. He eventually, goes down the stairs and uh, he at one point sees Andy outside as he's calling for Chucky, but he's kind of like, "Oh, okay, it's just a kid walking around." And I did like this. He like holds up his gun to shoot him, but when he sees it's the most adorable kid ever, he's like, "Oh, well, I can't shoot a kid." I was like, okay, at least he has, a conscience of some sort. And and so, but then he rounds the corner into the kitchen, fires the gun, and the house explodes in a great house explosion. That's an amazing house explosion. They did that very well. And it just in my notes, I thought this was funny. I wrote, "Ew, not the rats." And then right under, "Those poor dead rats."
Oh, yeah.
Who almost have died in that explosion. So I do think something that maybe, and I don't know how you could do it in this movie, and it would be a completely different movie, but just an idea I had was like, what if you could do it though, where you're not, if the audience wasn't sure that it was Chucky?
Well, yeah, I think that was revealed a lot later in the original script. And also it was a darker script at first, where Andy's blood mixed with the blood of the doll, and it was kind of like all his like buried resentments and anger and stuff, and it only came out at night.
Ooh,
so
that's interesting.
Yeah, but it was all turned into this, but that was the original vision.
Yeah, and I see what they're going for. I'm not even saying it's a bad move. I think that would be a completely different tone, like you said, but it's a thought because we, the audience, know this whole time that it has to be this doll, even though we haven't really seen it yet. We haven't seen Chucky in his full glory yet. So later we see Karen at the station because Andy is clearly a suspect because he's the only one who was there nearby of this giant explosion. And so he's admitted to a psychiatric hospital the same day. They move fast in Chicago.
She didn't put up any fight either. She's like, "Yeah, I need a nap." Like,
yeah, I think she's at her wit's end, maybe. Yeah. And to me, okay, this is also where I was like, I know why this happened because it's a film, but I'm like, would the move not be to just throw that doll away? Like, he keeps saying it's Chucky, and he even in the station is like, "Well, Chucky did it." And they're all like, "Okay, this kid is having some sort of break. Maybe it's time to throw the doll away." And I think as the mom, she would have been well within her right to do that, but she takes the damn thing home with her.
It's $250, Mac.
That's true. Well, she got it for a fraction of the price.
She got it for a discount, but still,
put it in a cage or something.
I mean, they are separating the kid from the doll.
That's
the kid's in the psychiatric hospital, and she's got the doll at home.
And I do like this scene. I think this is one of the strongest scenes.
The best, honestly.
But I also noted though, I said, because he says one of this doll's voice lines is like, "I'm Chucky and I want to be your best friend." And I was just like, these cops, if I know cops are, not that they would go to this level of investigation, but movie magic, cops are always better in movies than they are in real life. It's true. And I just said a simple investigation would show that the good guy dolls don't have Chucky in their voice lines. And we know for a fact, everybody knows that this doll has said Chucky out loud.
I think they might all have different voices, though. I mean, different names because, following the Cabbage Patch conceit, because the first
mm.
doll's name is Oliver
Oh, okay. I didn't realize
in the
that.
commercial. Yeah.
Okay. But okay.
But also, I mean, apparently none of these cops have kids or families or anything like that. So, like, they wouldn't know.
That's true. So Karen brings the doll home, and she's just kind of looking it over, and she's telling it to talk, but of course he's not going to do it to her right now. But she goes to look at the box and discovers that the batteries for the doll are still in the pack, and then opens up the back of the doll. And the way that they've made this is just how dolls look. I think the doll is very well made, and opens it up, and there's no batteries in him. And she has heard the doll speak. So she knows that there's something weird going on. And then he says, "Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?" And then violently comes alive and attacks her. But the one thing that I dislike is and there's a great scene where she drops him and he rolls under the couch. It's so creepy the way that happens. Oh, it's so good. Because I don't know how they did it, but it's not like CGI or anything. It's just a doll rolling by itself under the couch, and it's so scary. It's like, ooh, it gives shivers up your spine. And then she like looks under it and it gets her. Then she does the stupidest thing. And I did think that the scene is so like funny in a good way when she's like holding this doll and she's like, "Talk, damn you." And like, it's just a stupid looking doll. I don't know. Like, I wonder how the actress felt doing it. But okay, then she starts a fire, holds it up, and then she's trying to threaten the doll. But then what she does is turn her back to the fire and holds it above her, giving the doll this power and momentum to fall on her and put her closer to the fire. I'm like, why would you do something like that? That's so stupid. But it bites her, so she at least has, some physical proof, but it runs away. And is gone now. So and yeah, he does say, "You stupid bitch, you filthy slut. I'll teach you to fuck with me."
That was pretty harsh language in the 80s, I gotta say.
And I do think that's great.
I thought it was super scary. Like when she finds the batteries.
Yeah.
Also, I did put in the notes, when were batteries ever included? But okay.
Yeah, that's like amazing.
That's a really good deal. But there's no batteries in the back, and then when he turns his head around.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, "Hi, Chucky, want to play?" And I remember the theater was like, ah!
It's great.
That was so fucking scary. And then when his face changed, when he's just like,
yeah, that's great.
That was pretty scary stuff.
It's the full Chucky glory. It's how we all, if you know anything about Child's Play, the franchise, this is the Chucky you have seen. He looks terrifying and angry. It's great. I think that the work they did on this doll is phenomenal. So now it's the middle of the night and Karen is searching for Chucky, and she goes to Norris and she's like, "Okay, well, turns out Andy was telling the truth. It is Chucky." And he's just like, "Okay, lady." Like, in his head, just thinks this mom's trying to cover up for her crazy son. But she shows him the bite mark and she's like, "Well, look at this," and he just still isn't, feeling it. So then I did write, which I know it's because it's a movie, but I wrote, why? Because she wants to find the doll and set this all straight. But I said, why does she want to investigate? Just get your son back and say your apartment has black mold and move. It probably does anyway. But she tells Norris, well, I'm just going to go find it myself. And I'm going to start with finding the peddler. And he's like, lady, you don't want to do that. This is a bad area. And she's like, no, I'll do what I want. So she runs away. And she finds
Well,
the
this is
guy
where he
who's
says this is first she's going to go see the peddler, and then all that stuff happens. But then she wants to go to the store
Mhm.
where the doll came from, and he's like, "Well, it's not there anymore."
Yeah. But okay, she goes to find the peddler and finds
Mhm.
him in this group of, homeless men. And he's like, well, that's going to cost some money. And she's like, well, I don't have enough. And he says, well, you got a lot, actually. And then they all proceed to try to assault her. But then Nora saves her. We got some good old police brutality, but don't worry, these are the good guys. So they're allowed to do it because he just basically beats this man, this homeless man, and is like, well, you're going to answer all her questions or else I'm going to fucking kill you, I guess. Just, I don't know. Movies do this a lot where it's like, well, the
Mhm.
cops are the good guys. So it's actually okay that they do this. But I feel like now with our knowledge of the world, we can be like, actually, this is terrifying. Um, but he forces the peddler to admit that he stole the doll from the destroyed store. She wants to go to that store, but Nora says, well, you can't because it was hit by lightning and destroyed, and that's where I killed Charles Lee Ray. And this is where I feel like to convince him that the doll is truly a part of something or that something nefarious is going on, why doesn't she say, oh, that's crazy because my son said that that's the doll's real name? She doesn't say that.
Oh, you're right. Okay, you're right about that. She
And
does
I
not
feel
say
like
that.
you could have that and just have Norris be like, he probably saw that name on the news or something. So
Yeah,
you could, but like, why
yeah.
would she not bring it up? That killed me. So Norris is skeptical, but Karen tries to warn him, like, well, he's trying to tie up these loose ends. You're the next one. He's going to try to kill you because now he's killed Caputo. But he's like, okay, well, go home, lady. So not long after that, Norris is driving and gets attacked by Chucky in his car, which this is an amazing sequence. Chucky,
This
like,
is amazing.
he gets like a line to like choke him behind his which this is one of my biggest fears is getting distracted by something in my car like a wasp or something while I'm driving. I just feel like that would be so terrifying and I would be so scared that I would crash. So he's trying to fend off a doll while driving. He's like crashing into cars and whatnot. And then there's like the doll is like stabbing through the seat and he has to keep moving out of the way. It gets him almost in like the dick, but he like, gets back and hops up. And he manages to shoot Chucky, who gets wounded and starts bleeding and is in pain from getting shot. But the car crashes and Chucky escapes to his former voodoo instructor, John, to get answers. So he shows up to John's house all bloody and nasty, and he's like, hey, why is this happening? Why am I bleeding? I'm not supposed to be like a living thing. And John informs him that the longer his soul remains in the doll, the more human the doll will become. And I do think you're right. Why would it not be the more doll he would become? And then
Doesn't
you
make
like
any
don't have a
sense.
soul anymore.
Right. I
But
think that would be so cool.
and that'd be
Like,
scary because you'd be like, oh, my soul's gonna leave. I won't be able to run around anymore.
wouldn't yeah, or like, what if you, I don't know, transferred your soul into the body of a goat? Like, and then you would
Mm.
become like more and more goat like or
Yeah,
something.
you
Like,
lose your mind.
I, I don't get why he's becoming more human.
Yeah.
Doesn't make
And why that
sense
would
to
be
me.
an issue. Isn't that
Yeah.
what you want? You try to come back to life. But
Well, but he can be hurt. Like at first he
ah,
says like, "Nice try, Mikey, but you can't hurt me." But then he can be hurt. It turns out
yeah.
but he didn't know that. But it doesn't make a lot of sense. But
Yeah. Um so John's like, well, I'm not going to help you because you're an insane man. But
mhm.
Chucky tortures John because he has his own voodoo doll and starts breaking the limbs off of it, which is disturbing and disgusting.
Mhm.
And so John reveals that in order to escape the doll's body, Chucky must transfer his soul to the first human he revealed his true identity to. And Chucky, I love this. Like, it just shows what a piece of shit this guy is that he just starts laughing. And he's like, well, that's great news because I told a 6-year-old boy that. And so then John's like, oh, fuck, I just condemned this child to death. And Chucky then, decides to kill John. Or not kill him, but just really gets him good. And there's blood everywhere. It's nasty. So Chucky leaves to go find Andy, and then Karen and Norris immediately find the dying John. And before dying, John tells them that to kill Chucky, they must strike his heart, and to go soon because he's after the boy. Which it is nice that this guy has, a conscience. So Chucky then arrives at the psychiatric hospital, and this is another thing is, well, I guess it can be explained by psychiatric hospitals are usually fucked up and bad, but basically Andy's saying to the doctor, like, you need to help me, like, he's gonna kill me, he's coming to kill me. And the doctor's just like, yeah, okay, kid. And I'm like, why wouldn't you at least protect him for his own mental health, I guess? But I guess the answer is just these places usually suck.
Also, just point of order, though. I don't even, like, unless it was like a state hospital or something like that, like, there's no way Karen could afford, like, care for him or anything like
No.
that. So it's
Yeah,
just
like, and she wouldn't have, like, custody of him anymore.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, which is still amazing that she does have custody of him.
It really is.
And also, I was kind of confused as to why Andy is so sure that Chucky's going to try to kill him. Like, he doesn't know about the whole soul transfer thing. And why does he now know that Chucky's evil?
Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah, he doesn't really know.
Because for him, he's just been in this hospital and his best friend has been staying with his mom for a few days.
That's an excellent point, Mac. I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah.
But he's like, he's coming to kill me. He's going to kill me.
And he's going to kill you too. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't make sense that he would know that.
Yeah. But Chucky does arrive at the psychiatric hospital. Andy is a smart little boy, so he manages to break out of the room, and the doctor follows him. I do love this scene. They go into this like operating kind of room, and the doctor manages to grab Andy, which again, so scary to be a child. You're just so powerless. And he's got like a sedative that he's going to put into him because he's like, well, we just got to calm you down. But Andy knows that Chucky's in the room, and Chucky is on like, oh no, that happens later. And so Chucky reveals himself and kills Andy's doctor with like an electroshock thing on his head, which is just brutal. It's like, his face and eyes get all bloody and he's just, it's horrible. But Andy manages to escape and leave the building. And then we get a great scene of Chucky in the elevator with these old people just being like, who left that weird looking doll there? And then he says like, what is he? He's just like, fuck you too, bitch.
You. Yeah. When she goes, ugly doll. She like leaves the elevator and he goes, fuck you.
That's great. So Andy gets home and Chucky knocks him out so that he can transfer his soul. As he prepares to possess him, Karen and Norris arrive. So they do all sorts of things to this doll. Chucky stabs Norris, but Karen and Andy manage to set him on fire, and he still just keeps on a-coming. The horribly burned Chucky attacks again, but Karen shoots him, blowing his limbs and head off. And this is another point where I'm like, get any, like, do you have any sort of thing you could put him in? Like, put the pieces in. Like, they just leave these pieces. Like, they go back to the room to check on Norris. I'm like, I don't care. You already know things are weird when a doll can come to life. Find something to put this guy in. Or keep him in your line of sight. But they're like, don't go near the doll. Why? I want to keep him in my sights. Because then Norris's partner Jack arrives. And they're like, hey, just don't go near the doll because he's evil. And even Norris is like, yeah, the doll's evil. And he, of course, doesn't believe them because who would? And then Chucky's body bursts through a vent to strangle him. Norris shoots Chucky's body through the heart and finally kill him. And then they just fucking leave the house The group leaves to get Norse to the hospital as a traumatized Andy looks back at Chucky's remains. Put the doll in something. Don't you want it studied by science? Like, I don't know. Like, but then I know they're doing this because they need to leave open a possibility for the 8 million movies they're going to make after this. But it makes no goddamn sense why you wouldn't get anything to put like, this is just where I was like raging. Like, put him in a barrel, put him in a safe. I don't know. But
And they don't really address, I don't think, Andy's trauma until there. I don't know if it's in the show or if it's like, because I've seen all the movies, and but anyway, at some point he's been trying to get a hold of the actual Chucky doll, like the very one from his very, childhood. And he takes out like all that's left is like the head, or I don't know, all that's left is like a piece of like the original thing. And he just takes it out and like tortures it.
oh my God.
Like he's got it like in a safe and he just
Yeah.
like pulls it out from time to time and just like fucks with it.
Oh God.
And keeps it alive. It's like some fucked
Jeez,
up
that's
shit.
dark.
That's very dark. But I kind of believe it. I mean, this kid's been through just the stuff in the psychiatric hospital. I mean, what, his aunt dying and, all that other stuff. I mean, this kid is like, really severely traumatized. But that scene in the psychiatric hospital, where he just keeps like stumbling back and like falling down and just like no, and then he sees like the death of that doctor. It's just like,
This
oh
poor
my
kid.
God, it's so sad.
And there is a great line from Andy because Chucky's like, Andy, don't do this. I want to be your best friend. And he goes, this is the end, friend. And then gets him. Well, here's some trivia. Chucky's full name, Charles Lee Ray, is derived from the names of notorious killers Charles Manson, Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin of John F. Kennedy, and James Earl Ray, who assassinated Martin Luther King. According to director Tom Holland, the shot of Maggie falling to her death was achieved by having a stunt woman do the main shot, followed by a concrete-filled dummy when she hits the car, which had charges underneath the window to shatter them. Wow. And I do think the effects in this movie are just phenomenal.
They're pretty good, yeah.
Catherine Hicks, who plays Karen, and Kevin Yagher, who is Chucky's creator, met on set and were married a year later and are still married, which is pretty amazing. That a marriage lasting that long. The film used various ways to portray Chucky, including RC animatronics and little people or child actors. Various animatronics and cosmetics were used for every scene throughout the movie. Chucky's cosmetics transitioned from looking toy-like to a more human look. The film created multiple Chucky animatronics, such as a flailing tantrum Chucky, a walking Chucky, and a stationary Chucky. The animatronic's face was controlled by a remote control through a rig that goes on one's face and captures facial movements.
That was pretty cool. Like I watched the kill count for this one, and that's pretty cool. So you have like one actor with like stuff on his face, and then like on this like just like the head of like an animatronic doll. It's so cool. Like,
and I think that's really where this movie shines. Like, okay, I think the opposite has happened where you have made me enjoy this film a lot more through talking to you. I was still frustrated by some things, by some of the writing, but I do feel like the quality of like the effects, and I feel like why the movie hits so good is because of the work they put into the Chucky doll. Like, it would not be this iconic had those really talented people not done all that work to make that doll as creepy as it was. Like, and it's not just, ooh, creepy doll, but like how it says, it's like there's a breadth of like different ways to be creepy. It's not the same note over and over again. You get a bunch of different notes, which is great.
And I can't remember which one is supposed to be the really terrible one, but I don't know if you have to watch them all. I kind of like it when it gets to like Cult and Curse, because then you have Brad Dourif's daughter Fiona,
Hmm.
um, who's amazing. She does like an impression of her dad. It's hard to explain. It's like the doll possesses this woman, played by Fiona Dourif. And so she's just sort of like embodying her dad.
Mm.
It's so cool. And I mean, Seed is pretty buck wild, and then Child, or there's Bride, and then there's Seed. And the Seed in question is actually a non-binary kid. And
Oh, that's
so,
cool.
yeah, Glenn slash Glenda, which
Hmm.
is like, I don't know, Ed Wood joke or whatever. But there's a lot of creativity in the franchise, and the show is the kid who is obsessed with the Chucky doll, or dolls in general, is gay, and so
Huh.
he has a boyfriend, and it's, I don't know. There's a lot of really great effects. I mean, now we're into the 2020s, and so we've got some really great effects at our disposal and stuff. But I feel like there's just a lot of creativity, with a lot of
Yeah.
people involved in the franchise. The 2019 was like a whole other. It was like intellectual property
Mm.
rights, kind of. Didn't have
Yeah.
really anything to do with the original creators.
And I feel like that's
So
why it falls flat, is because
yeah,
you need the like passion. You
yeah, the
can't
heart.
just, yeah, which it clearly has, and why it has so many people who really like it and like are enamored with like the franchise.
Yeah. And I would say I'm one of them.
Yeah. I mean, to watch all of them, I feel like you
Yeah.
gotta like it a lot.
Yeah. I mean, there's some I wouldn't watch like more than once or anything like that. But I mean, I feel like when you get into like, I like Cult of Chucky. I really do. I don't know if that puts me in the minority, but I think it's kind of interesting, where the franchise goes at that point. But I don't know if I'm not caught up on the show, but I've seen a lot of the show, and I
Mhm.
would, I would recommend it. I think it's really good. Um, That's something if you're looking for something to do, you could watch
Yeah.
the
I
show. It's
always
just
need
called
something.
Chucky.
Okay. I'll look it up. Where can I watch it?
Well, it was on Sci-Fi. I don't know where it is, but you're
Mm.
creative. You can find
I'll figure it out.
it.
In the scene where Chucky runs behind Maggie in the hallway, Chucky was actually played by Alex Vincent's younger sister. That's
Aw.
cool. See, and that's so creative. Like, you need to have multiple views and multiple, but it all feels cohesive still, which is also
Yeah.
good. There's no letterboxed.
Oh my goodness. Let me see if I can find it. I just have 2 5-star reviews. I don't have any like, I like to end with like half-star reviews, but I don't have any of those. I've got um Albertolo, gave it 5 stars. When a 6-year-old is the main suspect for multiple murders, I'm in. And Becky Dark gave it 4 stars. It starts with one of the best opening scenes to a horror film ever, and ends with that freeze frame of Andy looking back through the gap in the door, looking like his childhood trauma is legit. What a
Oh,
movie!
and it is. How would we rate it?
I'll give it 4
But like, what's the system of rating?
overalls.
I'll give it 4 overalls too.
Really, you will?
I will.
What would you have given it before our conversation, I wonder?
3.75.
Shut the door. You came in hot. You were like, this movie blows.
I think before talking about it, maybe 3. But then talking about it, I was like, I think you're right about all of the. My first viewing, I think I was also having a bad day. So the bad stuff was standing out a lot.
There are some plot holes, and I bet, if Don Mancini and Tom Holland and all those people could go back, they might like say,
Yeah.
okay, it's a lot of really like, but I mean, but the special effects are pretty good given the
Yeah.
time, and I do think that there's a lot of heart in this film.
What have we learned?
Well, I was going to say believe children, but I don't know if that's a good lesson. I mean,
I
they can
think
be like little. I mean,
Listen and try to
listen.
figure out why this is being said. I feel like is don't just brush it off. Is like
Yeah.
kids are speaking their own language and you have to learn how to decipher it if you really want to make them feel like what they're saying has worth and meaning.
There's a moment where she gets pretty mad at him in the very beginning, like the very first night, and she yells at him. And he said, "It's because Maggie died that you're yelling at me, right, Mom?"
I
And
love that
she's like,
part.
"Yeah." So I thought that was pretty good. I mean, sometimes with kids it's hard because they're written like very unrealistically and they speak with this vocabulary that no kid has and things like that. But I think this does a pretty good job.
Yeah.
He seems like a 6 or 7 year old kid.
Yeah. And he sees the world that way.
Yeah.
Would we watch it again? Yeah.
Yes.
Favorite scene or death?
I guess I'll go with Norris in the car
Hmm.
being attacked by Chucky.
That is pretty good. I'll go with Karen and Chucky in the house or in the apartment because that one is just like, mwah, just like beautiful. The doll
Yeah.
rolling under the couch, that's just iconic.
It's so good.
They managed to get that because it's such a short moment, but it's like something that you'd see out of the corner of your eye that would be wrong. And
Right.
that's my favorite type of horror is like, because we all have moments like that where we're like, wait, what was that? But what if it was real? Is the scariest thing.
Yes.
And I would say that Eddie Caputo wins the You Fool Award because why didn't he smell that gas? Why, with smelling all that gas, would you fire that gun? Because that's the
Yeah.
thing is, I don't care if there was no flame. Gas smells pretty bad. It can give you a headache. And if it was that much gas that even firing a gun blows up the whole house, he's smelling that gas. So, but
Yeah.
I would believe that he would be that stupid.
I do too.
Yeah, but
Hanging
at
out with
least,
Charles Lee Ray. I mean,
yeah, you got to be pretty dumb.
well, thank you, Mac, for having this conversation with me about creepy dolls.
Of course.
And thank you, WoHos, for joining us for this episode and for all your support. It means the world of horror to us truly. Next time, we're going to be looking at coming of age films with The Innocents from Norway and The CLOVEHITCH Killer from the US. I always forget to write the rest of the script. Remember, WoHos, we love you. And don't go into the basement.